Welcome to WROL Broadcast, the unofficial podcast for DC Legends. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Here are your hosts. Take it away, Kage.
Starting the recording. All right, welcome to the WRL broadcast. This is Kage. I have not been on the show in a while, except for the monthly tier lists, and we have Zubaz, who is always on the Burger Shacks now, huh?
Yeah, it's sort of my monthly WRLO appearance, but we're back for another one this month. So I guess that makes sense because I actually really like this month. So I'm happy to talk about it.
What do you like specifically about this month? Is it just King Shark, or do you genuinely enjoy like Suicide Squad characters?
Like all four characters, I thought were really good. I thought both reworks were obviously massive improvements. I like both new characters. I even like the events that they gave us, like the Bloodsport event and the Suicide Squad Deadshot event at the end of the month. I'm looking forward to. So I thought they just did a pretty good job putting together August.
Yeah. You're like the only one in Owl Chat who talks about Suicide Squad and Stargirl. And like nobody ever talked about Stargirl or any of the lore behind it, I guess, right? So
Yeah, not too much. I know that the show is not particularly tremendously popular, and I think there was a lot of chatter about the Suicide Squad movie when it came out, but I think that they had two options in terms of what they wanted to do, and rather than go full on for either one of them, they just kind of split their attention a little bit, and I think it worked out well for them.
yeah, that you're right. It did work out for them, and I low key want to like talk about the politics behind Suicide Squad, but that's probably not gonna get any clicks. But you're probably like you and probably one other person probably understands like the political analysis behind that movie. And when I bring up politics, people think, oh, they're just bringing in LGBT characters. Like, no, dude, it's more. There's more politics than your social issues. But I'll
Yeah,
just leave it at that.
yeah. I mean, my only comment to that would say is, if you don't think that there's politics involved in comics, not just comic books, not just comic movies or anything, but just the whole comic universe, starting way back when it was like a radio program, then you're not really you're deliberately avoiding it, is what I would say.
Right, because media since like the dawn of time has just been an expression of like human frustration, right? And that human frustration, I guess, translates itself through storytelling, through analysis, through theory, all kinds of things. So, um, comics has just been a medium that has, you know, been a big commentator on like social and political issues.
Yeah, always has been, and always will be.
Uh, that out of the way, let's talk about Bloodsport. I know you were on the Burger Shack talking about the Bloodsport kit, and Burger gave his analysis, and we're about 3/4 of the way through the month. Today's the 20th. This will probably release on the 22nd or 3rd. Uh, what's your take on Bloodsport's kit? Do you have enough higher rank now to give a full assessment? Do you have any thoughts that kind of contradict Burger?
I'd have to go back and review kind of exactly what he said. I know that when he was initially playing with both of those characters, he said that he liked Bloodsport more. And I don't know that I would necessarily state a preference for either one of them based on their kit. Obviously everybody kind of knows that I'm a big King Shark fan, and I've already taken him to Rebirth 4. So my obvious bias aside, I have Bloodsport at L4, gear 80, level 11 now, and I've enjoyed using him all month. I usually don't play Siege at the upper tier that much. I think this is only the third time that I've ever participated kind of at the highest level. And so, you get a different perspective on how the tunes work and how useful they are. And I have found Bloodsport to be particularly useful for several reasons. We can kind of get into how that works and how he works. But yeah, I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. And, this podcast will probably come out before his second event. And what I would say is, like, if you haven't taken time to get the shards, you should probably get the Bloodsport shards, because he's going to be useful for a while, I think.
So what do you like most about his kit? I imagine it's probably the AoE, right?
AoE is definitely the go-to. Without exposing too much, I would highly recommend using his AoE and taking that legendary skill first, because let's just say it feels like it triggers more than 50% of the time. And it's a really useful way, because it's a targeted AoE. It's one of those, that new mechanic that they've ever had since Kilowog came out, and that can circumvent a taunter. Is really big. And so one of the more common in Siege, one of the more common things that you'll see because of the Siege bonus tunes this month was running Clayface and Spectre in the same lineup. And because of what Spectre is and what he can do, you have to kill Spectre first, or most of the time you want to kill Spectre first. But he's hidden behind a Clayface. And so then you use your Spectre and you purge their Clayface, but that doesn't help you because every other tune is still invisible. That's when you use Bloodsport, use his AoE, have the target be Spectre, and most of the time, 50% or more of the time, it will clear all of his buffs, and now all of a sudden he's open for target practice, basically.
That's a pretty useful tech, and it's only on like a 2 or 3 turn cooldown, so you can certainly use that every now and then just to clear out his awareness stack too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say most of the time matches tend to be over by the second time you would get his AoE. But that being said, I do think it's a really effective way to just get around Clayface. But outside of this siege, that will work. It'll be an effective way to get to him around a Harley, for instance, that kind of thing. And that AoE, because he's invisible all the time, the damage on it doesn't miss. So it's a really, really good move right now.
Okay.
So I really like that. The other move that I really enjoy of his is his 2 skill, but probably not for the reason you think.
So it's not the bleeds.
Not the bleeds. And the reason I say that is, well, okay, it is the bleeds, but it's not because they're bleeds. The reason I like that skill a lot is because it just provides, with the legendary upgrade, if you take the heal immunity, it provides 9 debuffs. And it doesn't matter to me what those debuffs are. It just matters that they are debuffs. So they could be 8 affinity resist downs for all I care. The important part of it is this month with the 2 reworks, Spectre and Stargirl, they introduced 2 very powerful tunes who have the ability to self-purge when they get to their turn. And probably the most common way to deal with a lot of these really high-powered tunes is to stun them. But you can't stun Spectre. You can't stun Stargirl, just like you can't stun Wonder Girl and you can't stun Artemis, because when they get to their turn, even if they're stunned, their passive clears it first. Unless they are covered in debuffs. So
Exactly.
If Spectre has 8 debuffs and then a stun on top of it, he can only clear 2 of them, and so you increase the odds that the stun that you put on him actually sticks. And when you do it 9 times, it's almost guaranteed that your stun is going to stick at that point. So yeah, okay. I mean, it's great that it's great that they're bleeds. It's nice that if they do stick, it does damage. Great, but in general, just showering enemies in debuffs is, to me, that's the best way to handle Spectre, and it's the best way to handle a lot of tunes, I think.
Yeah, that actually is a very interesting point, and I noticed that as well. you know, as soon as you load up Spectre with debuffs, he's not waking up from a stun, so he can't really attack your team. So
Right.
at least it neutralizes him. Anything else about his kit that sticks out to you? Any synergies that you like, or do you think he's pretty plug and play?
I wouldn't say he's necessarily plug and play. You need to give him speed. That's his one downside is he's very slow, and you need to put him on teams that will get him turn meter in some fashion or another. I do think that I might have made a mistake in the legendaries that I took for him. I took his 2, 3, 4, 5, and I skipped his 1 because overall I don't think it's particularly helpful to apply 1 hit chance up to yourself when you do your basic. But in looking back, he does pair really well with Lex. And Lex, an extremely farmable tune that's available to all levels of the game. Bloodsport, by having just a single buff on his basic, immediately makes an entire Lex team better. And so, I think looking back, because I did use Lex once or twice this siege, I think that would have been helpful in really just buffing up the whole team because you get that one little buff.
Gotcha. Yeah. That I'm looking back at that kit now, and I'm thinking it's pretty weird that they gave him a hit chance up and not like any other thing, like a strength up or crit up. But I guess
Yeah,
it is what it
it's
is.
a little strange. They want to increase his ability to actually land stuff, and maybe they want to make sure that he lands the stun. I don't think that the 80% chance on his basic for a stun, I don't think it's as high as that, or I'm just having a particularly bad RNG. The other thing to note, if you're looking at his kit, the hit chance ups that in his first passive that it says 3 hit chance up on a random ally. I think that what they actually mean is 3 hit chance ups to random allies. Because based on playing with him, it appears that those hit chance get spread out, or they can get spread out. It might be three on one ally, but it might also be 2 and 1 or some other configuration.
Okay.
Now let's take a short break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Become a Patreon today and get special perks like Patreon-only episodes, early reviews, and content based on your requests. Just go to patreon.com/WROL broadcast. And now back to the show.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Let's move on to Stargirl, the other green. She's not. I don't know if it's because she's not really moving the needle in the meta, or if that she's just getting overshadowed by Spectre. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but not a lot of people are buzzing about her. But I think her kit is actually pretty good. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I agree, and I do think in any other month outside of the Spectre rework that we got, I think she'd be huge. Her synergy with Lex gives you an almost unbeatable team on defense. Like, it allows you to set up whatever you want very, very quickly.
Yeah, so you didn't talk about her kit on the Burger Shack, but let's just run through her kit real quick. Basic is damage to an enemy, apply 4 strength downs, 60% chance to use it again. Star Force Field is actually this ability that I really like. Crit immunity to all allies, 75% shield. And then purge 2 debuffs from all allies, 50% turn meter to self. And then she got the AoE, damage to all enemies, 60% chance to gain damage immunity. That damage immunity comes in clutch. I gotta say, real useful. Even on defense, when you see an Ezreal across the board, you can just attack that Stargirl's damage immunity, kind of prevent his passes from proccing. 75% additional damage and 3 crit chance down to enemies. So if your reds aren't getting killed, they get the crit chance down, so that's nice. Passive ability, it's the end of each enemy's turn, 5 strength ups and 2 strength downs, ignores immunities. And then there's the 50% chance to gain 3 crit chance ups. And then finally, her final passive is each time an enemy gains a buff in their turn, 80% chance for Stargirl to gain 2 strength ups and 25% turn meter up. At the beginning of Stargirl's turn, purge 3 debuffs on her. So, what are your thoughts?
I think her 2 skill might be the single best defensive move in the entire game. There's probably some argument to be had, but not good ones. 75% shield to the entire team is massive. Critical immunity 2 turns is almost as important for 2 reasons. One, you do get that buff, so when you do use her with Lex Luthor, you've now overhealed and shielded the team. But 2, that 2-turn crit immunity is really big when you've got a bunch of new tunes, Spectre, Blackfire, a couple others who are hitting under shields. And so, yeah, you might be at 100% shield because that's how good she is, but if they're hitting under it, it doesn't matter. That's where the crit immunity comes in and can really protect you from like a Spectre AoE or something like that. Or even just his basic when he's hitting under shields. The purge is fine. Who cares about that? But the 50% turn meter up to self is also really good because she's really fast. You didn't mention her stats, but her speed is really high. And that combined with her 50% turn meter up when she does that, the turn meter up that she gets from Lex, and any turn meter that she gets every time an enemy buffs, is she takes a ton of turns, and that 2 skill, which is like important, you cycle through the cooldown very, very quickly. So
Right.
I think she's really, really good to have on defense.
Oh, for sure. She's been also kind of a pain to take down on defense too, because you're getting ready to kill a Spectre, right? And this has happened a million times for me. Spectre is like at the edge of dying. He's got that heal immunity on, and I just need one more hit to clear him off the board and not worry about him. But you know what? Stargirl takes a turn. She clears the heal immunity, gives him a shield and a crit immunity. So now I'm fighting the battle uphill now.
Yeah.
So really annoying, really annoying defensive character. I don't think she neutralizes Ezreal that much, but as a utility character in general, she fits in a lot of teams and can set up a lot of certain defensive playstyles.
Yeah, and everybody for now over a year basically has been looking for that one Azrael counter, and so far it looks like it just hasn't come. She comes the closest, though, I would say. Not only because the crit immunity, makes him hit a little bit less. Her passive, I think they just didn't go far enough with it. They only did the up to 5, which unfortunately does mean between 0 and 5 for the devs for some reason. I think they could have gone as many as 10, and Azrael would still be an issue because he gains like 30 strength up sometimes. So that being said, I have been able to use her effectively to shut him down, just not quite as well as you would hope or you would think. But it was good that they, at least have this new mechanic of ignore immunity. That's something that we haven't seen before, and hopefully that's something that they can bring out a little bit more as we keep getting so many characters with debuff immunity.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think it was a good effort, a very valiant effort to try to make Stargirl. I think people have been trying to talk about a Stargirl rework that potentially does the stated goal, but I think we're just gonna have to keep looking and maybe bear in mind that Azrael's here to stay in the meta, and there's not much we can do.
Honestly, the Spectre shuts down Ezreal a little bit better than Stargirl does, unfortunately. But at least we have somebody that can. So
yeah, but Spectre, I think, shuts down every character at this point.
Right.
Like, not even Shiva can 1v1 him. She gets stunned and it's game over. Like,
yeah. I have used Spectre to shut down Azrael. I was, mentioning the other day that I had a 1v3. It was Spectre versus Barda, Azrael, and Cassie Kane, and Spectre got the win. So
yeah, I think he's going to be an issue in the long run. But I guess that remains to be seen, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I think, step one is to just fix the very basic things in his kit, like, he shouldn't necessarily be doing a lot of stuff when he's stunned. But once we get those things fixed, it'll be interesting to see if he's still as overpowered as he seems like he might be.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this podcast. I mean, I don't even get a lot of followers anymore. I think Tootie kind of took up the podcast space. I think my niche at this point is just politics, since that's pretty much the brain cancer of my brain.
There's nothing political about these characters. Bloodsport, who was a draft dodger that then his brother went in his place and lost his arms and legs, that then sent Bloodsport into a tailspin around Canadian psychiatric institutions, that then turned him into basically thinking he has PTSD for a war he was never in. There's nothing political about that whatsoever. So, it's best to just if you're only going to do politics, then comics maybe isn't for you.
Right, exactly. I read comics to escape the political world. I have Fox News on all day. I don't want any more of Fox News dividing my life.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Zubaz. I'll send this up to Boss Man. Maybe he'll get a chuckle. Maybe he'll listen. Maybe he won't. I doubt it. But
we'll see.
Hey,
there's going to be a long bleep section at the beginning and end of the whole podcast.
I'm getting canceled by my own boss.
Yep.
That's the real workers' suppression right there.
All right. Thanks for having me. It was
good.
All right.
You can throw away money on GME, AMC, or BB. Or you can toss your money in the dumpster by becoming a Patreon. Become a Patreon today and get special perks like Patreon-only episodes, early reviews, and content based on your requests. Just go to patreon.com/WROL broadcast